The goal is not to win every battle. The goal is to outlast the competition. In the military, they give medals to people who are willing to sacrifice themselves so that others may gain. In business, we give bonuses to people who are willing to sacrifice others so that we may gain. So I spoke at an education summit for Microsoft. I also spoke at an education summit for Apple. At the Microsoft summit, I would say that 80% of the executives spent the vast majority of their presentations talking about how to beat Apple. At the Apple summit, 100% of the executives spent 100% of their presentations talking about how to help teachers teach and how to help students learn. One was obsessed with their vision, one was obsessed with where they were going, the other one was obsessed with beating their competition. Because the finite player is playing against its competitors, and the infinite player is playing against themselves. The infinite player wakes up every single day and says, how do we be better this week than we were last week? It's a game of constant improvement. But the number of companies that study their competition for strategic reasons is scary, which means they react strategically to their competition and will change entire business models on basically on a whim, which means the company has no stability and is going all over the place. And you're frustrating the people on the inside because they don't know where they're going. It's a constant game of reaction. Not to mention the fact that in the infinite game, it's usually the competitors we don't know about that take us down, not the ones we do know about. MySpace had no idea that Facebook even existed until it completely destroyed their company because they were so focused on the ones they did know about. After I got done with my talk at Apple, I'm in the back of a taxi with a very senior Apple executive, sort of employee number 12 kind of guy. And I decided to stir the pot. And I turned to him, I said, Microsoft gave me their new Zune, and it is so much better than your iPod Touch. To which he responded, I have no doubt. Conversation over. Because the infinite player understands that sometimes you're ahead and sometimes you're behind. And sometimes your product is better and sometimes it's not. The goal is not to win every battle. The goal is to outlast the competition. You let the competitor compete against itself and drive itself down to zero while you're out there improving your systems constantly. This is what it means to play the infinite game. Companies that frustrate their competitors, the ones that seem unbeatable, the ones that everybody targets but seems unable to reach, accidentally are playing the infinite game. All effective leaders must have is courage, because it is hard. It is hard to stand up against outside pressure. It is hard to stand up to an external constituency who's pushing you to do something for their short-term gain, to do the right thing for your people. It is hard. It is thankless. It is lonely. Sometimes you get fired. Sometimes you get in trouble. Sometimes you'll lose your job and the next guy will get all the credit. It's all true. And the courage to do the right thing in the face of overwhelming pressure, only the best leaders have that courage. Only the best leaders. And here's the folly. Courage is not some deep internal fortitude. You don't dig down deep and find the courage, right? It just doesn't exist. Courage is external. Our courage comes from the support we feel from others. In other words, when you feel that someone has your back, when you know that the day that you admit you can't do it, someone will be there and say, I got you. You can do this. That's what gives you the courage to do the difficult thing. Your goals must be tangible. There's a biological reason for that. We're very, very visually oriented animals. You have to be able to see the goal for it to biologically stay focused, right? If you don't write down your goals, if you can't see your goals, it's very hard to get motivated, to get inspired. For example, think about corporate visions, right? A corporate vision has to be something we can see. Right? That's why it's called a vision. You can see it, right? To be the biggest, most respected, to be the fastest growing are not visions. They're nothing, right? What does that even look like? Respected by whom? Your mother? Yourself? Your friends? Your shareholders? Who knows? What's the metric? Dunno. It's amorphous. It doesn't motivate us. Just like I can't tell you, you will get a bonus if you achieve more. You're going to ask me, how much more? I'm going to say, more. Doesn't work. You need a tangible goal. You need a tangible goal, right? Here's a great vision. Martin Luther King, I have a dream that one day little black children and little white children will play on the playground together and hold hands together. We can imagine that. We can set our sights on that. And every time we achieve a goal and achieve a metric and achieve a milestone that makes us feel like we're making progress to the vision we can see, we keep going and going and going until we achieve something remarkable. You have to be able to see it. So the reason we get managers, the reason we get micromanagers, the reason we get bad leaders is because nobody showed them how to do the job of leadership, for one. And two, they can't help themselves. Of course they're going to tell you to do it their way because they actually do know how to do it better than you, because that's what got them the promotion in the first place. Right. And the transition we have to make is that we are no longer responsible for the job. Like, as I said before, we now become responsible for the people who are responsible for the job. Right? There's not a manager around who's responsible for the results. We're responsible for the people who are responsible for the results. I love talking to CEOs, and I'm like, what's your priority? They say, my priority is my customer. I'm like, you haven't talked to a customer in 10 years. You know, you have no impact on a customer at all. Right. What you can do is screw with someone's life, who will then impact your customer, or support someone who will then impact your customer.
Such
right?
Powerful.
Leaders are responsible for the people, who are responsible for the people, who are responsible for the people, who are responsible for the customer. Get that chain right. That is the chain of command. Get that chain right, and everything goes just fine. Get that chain wrong, and then the people who are touching the customer, inventing the product, selling the product, figuring out ways how to build the company, manage the numbers, manage the processes, manage the operations. In other words, all the heavy lifting. Get that chain wrong, and those people will spend more time protecting themselves from you than doing their job. So we give somebody an arbitrary target, sales, revenues, whatever it is, on an arbitrary date, see you in a year from now. And if they hit that target, we bonus them and say, good job. And if they miss that target, we say, better luck next time, right? But if we're playing the infinite game, and this is what we started doing, we become more preoccupied with the trend over the absolute target that they hit. So for example, what if somebody's building really good solid systems that are showing really good incremental growth? Really stable, good, solid incremental growth. But by the time we hit 12 months, they're short. They miss the target. You're damn right I'm gonna bonus that person, because what they're doing is they're building the right systems that I can see will hit the target. I can see it. Will hit the target 15 months from now. In other words, we got the date wrong. It's the date that should adjust, not the other way around. Versus somebody who hits the target, but if I go back and look at what they did, and it looks like their performance is this, and they're stabbing people in the back, and they're, beg, borrowing, and stealing, and dropping the price, and doing whatever it takes to make the sale, because they gotta hit the target, and on the right day, on the right time, we bonus them, which is rewarding them for building an unstable company. The trend matters. Sometimes it hits the date, sometimes it doesn't. The dates are there to help guide us. It's not about the events. It's not about intensity. It's about consistency, right? You go to the dentist twice a year, your teeth will fall out. You have to brush your teeth every day for 2 minutes. What does brushing your teeth twice a day for 2 minutes do? Nothing. Unless you do it every day, twice a day for 2 minutes. Right? It's the consistency. Going to the gym for 9 hours does not get you into shape. Working out every day for 20 minutes gets you into shape. So the problem is we treat leadership with intensity. We have a 2-day offsite, we invite a bunch of speakers, we give everybody a certificate. You're a leader, right? Those things are like going to the dentist. They're very important. They're good for reminding us or getting us back on track, learning new lessons. But it's the daily practice of all the monotonous, little, boring things like brushing your teeth that matter the most. She didn't fall in love with you because you remembered her birthday and bought her flowers on Valentine's Day. She fell in love with you because when you woke up in the morning, you said good morning to her before you checked your phone. She fell in love with you because when you went to the fridge to get yourself a drink, you got her one without even asking. She fell in love with you because when you had an amazing day at work and she came home and she had a terrible day at work, you didn't say, yeah, but let me tell you about my day. You sat and listened to her awful day and you didn't say a thing about your amazing day. This is why she fell in love with you. I can't tell you exactly what day, and it was no particular thing you did. It was the accumulation of all of those little things that she woke up one day and as if she pressed a button, she goes, I love him. Right? Leadership is exactly the same. There's no event. There's no thing I can tell you you have to do that your people will trust you. It just doesn't work that way. It's an accumulation of lots and lots of little things that anyone by themselves is innocuous and useless. Literally, pointless by themselves. People will look at little things that are good leadership practices and say, that won't work. And you're absolutely right. But if you do it consistently, and you do it in combination with lots of other little things, like saying good morning to someone, that looking them in the eye. My friend George who's a 3-star general in the Marine Corps, he says his test for leadership, and I love this, he goes, his test for a good leader is if you ask somebody how their day is going, you actually care about the answer. Right? The number of times we're walking to a meeting, we're rushing, we go, how are you? Not good, I got to get to you later, I'm late for a meeting. Right. If you ask the question, you were standing there and you were listening to the answer. It's those little innocuous things that you do over and over and over and over that people will say, I love my job. The biggest lesson I learned was because I was the boss, in my own mind. Yeah. I thought I had to know all the answers, and if I didn't, I thought I had to pretend that I did. And that's stupid. What I learned is that just because I may have the top position in the hierarchy, I'm not expected to know everything, and if I pretend to know everything, it diminishes the value of all the great ideas and the great intelligence around me. And when things got difficult, I would never admit it. Right? I would just put on a brave face and show up every day. The biggest lesson I learned was to say, I don't know, I don't understand, or I need help at any level about any subject. Yeah. And amazingly, I was always surrounded by people who wanted to help or who knew answers, but they never offered to help or offer the answers because they didn't think I needed it because I kept pretending that I knew it all. Right. Not to mention the fact that nobody likes a know-it-all. So that was huge for me. And when I was willing to ask for help and accept it when it was offered, and sort of accept the humility of the fact that other people know a lot more about a lot of things than I know. Uh-huh. I know one thing, and they know lots of things. That's when things really started to move. If an alcoholic masters all 11 steps and not the 12th, it's highly likely they'll drink again. If they master the 12th step, they're much more likely to overcome the disease. The 12th step is the commitment to help another alcoholic. Right. It's service. And this really is the most powerful thing in the world, which is, it's not about us, it's about others. There's an entire section in the bookshop called self-help. There's no section in the bookshop called help others, right? And it's not about how can I lose 10 pounds? How can I find the job that I love? How can I find the love of my life? No. It's not how can I lose 10 pounds, it's how can I help somebody I care about live a healthy lifestyle. It's not how can I find the job that I love, it's how can I help somebody I care about find a lifetime of joy in their work. It's not how can I find true love, it's how can I help my friends settle down and live the life they want to live. And ironically, if we set out to help people solve the problems that we struggle with ourselves, that in turn is what teaches us the solutions.
If you like Succeed with Knowledge, subscribe and give us a thumbs up. And thanks a million. Cheers.